Kirk, what do you think it will take to make auctions great again?
The entire industry would improve if everybody was just more transparent in the entire ecosystem.
Do you think you could have time to maybe meet me at the gate?
I'm Rich Levene, and this is Meet Me at the Gate, where we're not just talking theory, we're tackling real-world problems head-on, driving solutions that supercharge productivity and team dynamics. Every episode is a journey towards improvement, empowering you, the manager, to lead with innovation and confidence. Join us to transform everyday roadblocks into highways for success. How do you get more efficient? How do you stop waste? And one thing I've learned from Kirk is, look, you got to stop waiting, okay? Don't check in a car and then set it aside and wait for the CR guy. Don't have it CR'd and then wait for the imaging person or wait for the mechanic or wait, whatever. Cut out the wait. So one of the best ways to cut out wait time would be, how do we work together? How do we cross-train? Hey, there's a backlog in detail. Let's all go grab a rag and start learning how to detail and get cars clean. Hey, we're behind on reshoots for photos, or we're behind on CRs, whatever it is. But somehow I would think there's got to be some synergies if we start cross-training.
Okay,
or what if you call in sick?
We did a show last week, and if I heard it right, we took the whole check-in process, which was 12 days, to 1.5 is 1.2. Is that right?
Yeah. And that was bigger than the check-in. Let's call it the vehicle processing.
Okay, so walk me through this, because I'm simple. So I'm the transport guy, and I've got dealer cars or repos that I need to drop off to your auction. So when I drop them off, I go to the check-in gate, and there's your car, and I tell whoever, hi, here's a car. So walk me through the steps, because I was really confused. I was like, how come it takes 12 days to check one car in? I didn't ask on the show, but after the show, after I watched it, I was like, what happened?
So let's reframe this a little bit. We're not just talking just check-in. It's vehicle processing. So how do we process a vehicle from the time it arrives to having it ready for sale or ready to present an estimate to the customer and cut that cycle time down? So that includes checking the car in, writing a condition report, taking photographs, and generating an estimate should there need to be something done on the car to fix it. So let's say, hey, you know what, this car is green light, but if you fix these couple of things, you can certify it. Or maybe it's a red light. It's got maybe it's got O2 sensors bad, so you don't want to guarantee the engine. But hey, I checked it out. It's bank one's got a bad O2 sensor. If I fix the sensor, test it again, and it passes, well, we can green light this car. So that's what I'm talking about from a cycle time. Yeah, because I mean, you're right. Everybody's probably going, what the hell, 12 days to check in a car? What are you guys doing down there? We're working on the sundials, what we're doing. No, that's not what we're doing. So what I was talking about is we're pulling all that in and we're condensing it down so that we can get the vehicle processed.
Right. So, and I'm assuming this is, when you say client or account, this mostly applies what you're talking about to what I call fleet or commercial accounts, right? Is that what this is?
Yes, but remember our motto, love the dealer. So we're pushing it one step farther, and we're doing this with every car. And it goes back to the model that you and I talked about a couple of years ago and came up with it. How do you build trust, consistency, accuracy, transparency? And then Kirk really jumped on that last week. He didn't take it verbatim, but he said, hey, how do you become more consistent when you're writing a condition report, checking a car? We're funneling all this through our arena. Nobody ever uses their arena for check-in. You're crazy. You're stupid. Come on. That's dumb. What are you doing that for? Well, Kirk's like, dude, you got a controlled environment. What are you doing? You know? And he didn't say it quite like that, but he said it more professional. And then I'm a little rough. But anyway, his point is like, if we can control all this stuff and we can be consistent, it doesn't rain in there. You've always got the same lighting. You've got the same footing. It just makes everything come together. So now the only thing we have to worry about technically, right, let's be simple, are what I call the squirters, the cars that get away. Why did this car not run through that process? And we found a couple of them. We're not sure how it's happening, but we're going to figure it out. What's fascinating is because we've moved this and how we're doing it. So we've moved everything from running through our check-in canopy like everybody has. I mean, every auction's got a check-in canopy. We're only using that for in-ops. That's now in-op drop. Okay. But so now we've got transporters who may have a in-op on the rollback, but they got a driver on the hook. And it's just fascinating to watch what they do and how they start. Oh, you're using the back gate? I can use the back gate. And then they start, no, you can't drive that way. And then they see a car there. Oh, I got to get back to the gate. And we've seen a couple of them jump in our cars. I'm like, no, don't take our cars. So we are having a few get away. And we got some things we're working on to put in process to stop that. But back to your original question, 12 days to 1.5, that's everything. That's not just checking in a car.
Well, and I think you guys made that real clear in our last show, but I needed clarification just because I'm sometimes a little slow. So thank you.
We all learn it. We all learn at a different pace. That's one thing I've learned in life.
Right. So as a auction manager, if you hear something like this, it should tickle your ears because you probably already have commercial accounts that are on it grading you daily, weekly, monthly, annually on how you get stuff done. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So part of that starts with, hey, client calls or emails, however they do it. We've got a car over here. It happens to be at a repo yard. We gave it to you. Now the clock starts. And then is that a separate grade from the time it gets from the repo yard to your lot? Or is that clock keep going until it's sold?
Depends on the client. Everybody's got a clock. So we try to process it as fast as we can, but we have to stop and look at what can we control? What are the controllables? In a lot of instances, as much as a lot of the lenders want to say, well, you can control the transportation time. Well, no, I really can't, because once you assign it, I got to get an appointment with the repo agent, and then the repo agent's got to let me in there. And then let's take, for example, I'm down here in Texas. We had all this rain this week, and lots get flooded, and they're muddy. You can't come pick up a car this week. Your truck won't get in here. You'll get stuck. So now you got to wait till next week. So I try to throw that out. I really can't control that. But what I can control, as soon as that car hits my gate, I can control on how long it takes to check it in, CR it, inspect it, clean it, and get it ready for the seller to sell. I can control those things.
Right. Kirk, is the process the same fundamentally at every auction that deals with commercial accounts?
Yeah, I mean, every obviously every commercial account has unique things of how they process or their standards of the type of work they want to prove or whatnot. But a car is a car, right? There's cosmetic damage to a vehicle, there's mechanical damage to a vehicle, and then it just comes down to what do they want to fix and how do they want to represent their vehicle. And those are the standards that are given to the auction, that once you understand those within the flow of the car, that's processing is the same. And I would even argue that a lot of it's the same for even dealer cars that are coming in. I mean, when we first started in the business, I mean, the only cars that got a CR were commercial units. And then it was like 10% of the dealer cars started getting CRs, and then 50%. And now most auctions, 100% of all the vehicles are getting a cosmetic CR, right? And then that's where, now the next place to push to would be doing more mechanical inspections and things on, dealer vehicles and whatnot. So that's kind of just the natural progression. The more information you have about the car, the better you could represent the vehicle, right? And obviously that there's probably some buyers or sellers out there that bring vehicles that they call it the gray zone, right? Where they know that there may be a transmission issue with the car and they're trying to offload it, right? I don't know if that ever happens, right? And so they're trying to get it through, and they know that, hey, maybe the auction's not going to catch it at PSI or whatever, right? But the entire industry would improve, I believe, if everybody was just more transparent, right? There's better trust, as Rich is saying, in the entire ecosystem, right? And it just better sets the value of the price of the car. Buyers are going to be happier because they're paying the right price, right? There's no arbitrations, things of that nature, right? So whether you're commercial, it's kind of starting on the commercial side, but I mean, eventually every car should be processed the same way.
Right. Well, as we're having this conversation, I follow a lot of dealer guys, and a lot of dealer guys, it's almost like I'm hearing your story. How do you make things go faster? So once the dealer buys a car, he has the same problem. I got to get it to my lot. That's a variable most of these guys can't control. Second thing he's got to figure out is, based on the pictures I saw, because I bought it online, what am I going to have to do to it when it finally gets here? And so the dealer calls this time to line, and they're kind of, it sounds very similar to what you're saying, and it's costing them money, which I guess ultimately it costs the auction money if you don't hurry up.
Yeah, and that's where I think the client standards come into play. I mean, can you imagine they buy a vehicle and say the auction is taking really nice photos of the car? Why couldn't they just take those images and post them online? The car hasn't even reached their lot yet and start marketing that vehicle, right? That's a concept or an idea that dealers are doing out there, right? And then if there is work that has to be done, if the auction is performing a certain standard level of work to the vehicle, some of these auctions have the ability to take it to their standard, to retail level work, and it never leaves. So once it leaves, maybe it stays for an extra day on their property. It leaves. Now it's frontline ready. It's already being marketed, right? So there's things that the auction can do in partnership with transportation, with better imaging, with frontline recon work and whatnot that could get that car ready to be, as soon as it hits the lot, it's sold, it's off their property, right? So
Okay. Well, I didn't want to sidetrack, but I just found it interesting that it seems like dealers kind of, but what you're saying is something I've always thought, which is there's opportunity for another revenue stream. I've hung around Black Widow quite a bit back several years ago, and this was a conversation that came up. Our images, the auction's paying for the Black Widow technology, the Black Widow equipment, one way or another, they're paying for it, and they've got all these amazing pictures. Why can't the auction offer this service to the dealer? For $5, we can send you all the pictures. I mean, it may not be a lot of money, but I think it would add up, right? Maybe.
Well, I think again, Rich, you jump in. I think it's like cycle time, right? I mean, you could make money off of that, but I think it's more about the sale. The auction could be making money off selling the imaging that they already have to the dealer, right? They could be using that to market the vehicle, but it's about how do I get that car in front of that retail consumer faster? If not, I got to bring it to my lot. I've got to re-image the car. I've got to, right? Now as soon as I buy it, that car's up and it's being offered to a retail consumer, right?
Yeah. Well, because as a transporter, I want you to sell another car so you can go buy another car. I think the auction's kind of the same idea. I want you to sell this car fast so you can come back next week and buy another one.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of really large online players. And one of them, that's what they were doing, is they were selling at the auction, and then they would sell them to dealers and then ship them right from the auction to the retail consumer's house, which means that the auction had to have it. I mean, this was a large player that was doing, and that's all they were doing was online, and they were using the auction as a storage facility. But that's a concept, I mean, maybe it has to go to a dealership to go through a few extra steps, but that concept, I think there's a place for it, right? And it can be the cycle time and the speed of a car.
Yeah, apparently Germany, they call them fields. Have you heard this? It's exactly what you just described. This guy found me on YouTube in Germany. He builds car haulers. He's done it for the last 30 years. He flies to America. He wants to learn about how auctions work in America. Spend a month with this guy, taking him to all the auctions from Missouri to Florida. And he can't understand why we do it the way we do it, because where he lives, you don't do that. All the cars are at the auction, American auction, and you buy the car online and you just go pick it up. So it's exactly what you described.
Yep.
Weird. But sorry, back to processes. I don't remember where we originally started. We kind of got off.
We talked about timing, processes. So one thing we're doing with this one, real world example, and we planned it out. So last week we had dealers wanting to bring cars in at the last minute. So every morning we do a team huddle and we go around, we talk about wins, challenges, and then solutions. So the inside sales guy said, hey, all these guys are bringing cars in. What do we do? They want to come in late. And we all basically agreed that we have to have a cutoff time. Every car needs to go through the process, because if we're going to become the world's most trusted auction, we can't have cars get slid in like, I'm going to slide this car in and hope that nobody catches that bad transmission you talked about. We don't want that. So this week we were cruising right along. We even added a Tuesday meeting in the late afternoon before the sale. So we could say, hey, do we have any late requests? Are any cars coming in late? What's on transportation's list? This week, all clear. Nobody's got a car. 10 o'clock, 2 hours before the sale, I had 5 guys say, I got a car. We got to stick it in. And the first guy, I said, okay, we can do it. We'll do one. Well, then all of a sudden I'm walking out, and then it became 4 more guys. Hey, I want mine. I stopped the sales guys. I stopped everybody. I said, look, no, we're not doing this. And they're like, what? And I said, I talked to my inside sales guy. He's the best, Javier. And I said, explain to him what we're doing. So Javier explains our process that, hey, we're going to run this car through lane. This is what we do. We do it just like an exiter car. And then he used something that was brilliant. He said, we don't look at the car, whether it's a dealer car or a commercial car. We look at the car on its own individual qualities. And then we examine the car from there. A car is a car. We're going to tell you what it is. And it's going to go from there. So these guys are, oh, that's awesome. That's great. And Javier says, I'm not going to run your car this week because I'm wasting your time. Nobody's going to look at it online. Nobody's going to bid on it. I don't need to practice driving it. And then you add the opportunity that, well, what happens if we wreck the car? It's slow, it's slim, but it could happen. All the guys said, cool, wait. So we checked him in just so we had him recorded, but then we ran him through the process as soon as the sale was over.
Nice.
But now it was beautiful. But now let's reverse. Today I'm looking at yesterday's sales results. We're not a big auction, but we ran 425 vehicles this week, which is second largest for us this year. So we're growing. We're on the way up.
Sure.
The number that'll blow you away is we sold 97 units online this week, double of what we've ever done. I haven't dug into the data to say why, but intuitively, here's what it tells me. People are seeing better pictures online. They're seeing full condition reports online. Everything, whether it's lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, or lane 4, even lane 7, the inoperables, we've got better pictures, better process, better cars. We're telling people what's wrong with them. And now they're able to buy with confidence. So all that does is, did I sell more online? Absolutely. So then if I go, well, you guys, you're ruining your auction. The little guy comes in and he gets to kick the tires. No, I'm raising the prices for everybody. I'm giving a better product for everybody. This is a win, 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 win all the way around, so that when you buy that car and you get it back to your lot, you get to sell it. You don't have to worry about arbitrating it because nobody wins in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. That's some great numbers. What was the percentage on 10?
What was the dealer sales percent?
37%, the highest we've ever had. So we started a couple of weeks ago when we just started getting this going. We were at 10%, and then we saw it jump to 20, and then we saw it jump to 30, and now this week we're up to 37%. So every week those numbers keep going up. And today, I kid you not, word is traveling fast on what we're doing. And I can't mention any names, but a franchise store calls and says, hey, we're running at XYZ, and we run everything red light because we don't want anything to come back on arbitrations. We hear you got something different over there. What's going on?
Nice.
You got a minute? Let me explain to it. So our sales guy explained it to him, and he goes, can you come down and talk to us? So now the door's open. We get to go talk to this franchise because they've already heard that we've got a process that they know that they can trust, because they said, we asked them point blank, why are you running everything red light? We don't want any headaches. We don't want any cars coming back. Once it's done, it's gone. We want to wash our hands of it. So we simply said, what if you went through our inspection process and we tell you how to announce it? And if you announce it the way we tell it to you, and if something comes back, it's on us. Are you in? They're like, let's sit down and talk.
Well, don't you think they're losing money too, running everything red light?
Absolutely. What I know now, and you and I, Ty, so I'm a converter. So you and I were talking a year ago, like, let's start an auction and call it Red Light Auto Auction. Yeah. But now we're watching this, and then I hire a GSM, and he's an ex-dealer, right? He never worked at the auctions, and he's just seeing things through a fresh set of eyes, and we're just going to call it innocent from the auction side, not washed out by biases. And the way his approach to these cars is just totally different. And he's telling these people, hey, you need to tell them it's got a bad transmission because it's going to bring $2,000 more than you running it as is. And like, what? Yeah. Tell them everything you know about the car. And sure as heck, as soon as we started doing this, prices started coming up. Guys start having wins. You know what? They might have been sending us 5 cars and selling none. And if they send us 5 cars, now they sell 1. That's a win. What's a 20% increase? Every week, if we continue to go up just a little bit and get better, one of these days, we're going to be able to play with the big boys.
Yeah. That's a really cool story. I love it.
And you're building the base too, right? So it's like it's this knowledge of each win that you get is building on the next, right? I mean, you're only a couple months into this. I mean, can you imagine it 6 months from now? The better the repetitions and the habit and the what you're building, right? Is like you can't. There's only one place to go, which is up, right? Which is, and that's what the cool thing about this. Like I think where you started with this, Ty, is this is all about speed. Well, yeah, right. It's processing quick, but it's getting information that's accurate as well to where it needs to be, which drives the one thing, which is selling the car, right? Which I think that's what you're proving, Rich, which is awesome.
And we talk about speed. I was listening to a podcast the other day that has nothing to do with automotive, and it was a gentleman that was in the manufacturing industry down in the Southeast. And the podcast interviewer asked this gentleman who's been doing this, I think he said since the 70s. And he said, what's changed? And he said, the number one thing that's changed is speed. He said, when I started in this business, I would go out, jump in my car, have my sales list. I'd walk into Ty's place and I'd get something with Ty. Can I do this? Go back to my office, do a proposal, get the proposal written up, get all the stuff from the stuff. He goes, before you know it, it was a month before I'd actually have a number back to him. He goes, I better have a number back to him like that day. And sometimes it's like, if it's an AM call, it better be at the end of by noon. And if it's the afternoon, it better be before I go home. So that's just the speed with what we have and how we can work with it. Dealers are no different. Sellers are, whether they're a dealer selling a car or it's a finance company, these guys are all about speed. How fast can you do it? And if you can do it fast, how quick, how good's your quality? So what we're really trying to solve is what I call the trifecta. And maybe it's the In-N-Out model, In-N-Out Burgers out of California. Speed, quality, and price. Can you nail all three of those? Because right now, the old model used to be pick two.
Right.
If you want it fast, you have to sacrifice either price or quality. It's one or the other. You either pay more or you get bad quality, whatever it is. But I think we're starting to come onto the model where, hey, look, we can give all three.
Yeah.
And I've been looking for this holy grail for a long time.
Well, that's where on the price side, right, is the value of the vehicle, which you're solving for, right? It's like taking a red light car to now you can make a green light because they trust the quality of the service you're doing at the speed that you're doing it. But kind of tying it back to, original kind of topic point of this is that at certain sites, right, you're hiring for, just making this up, say 2 CR writers, right? And based on volume that's flexing and coming up, at what point do you need to now train to 3 CR writers or 4 CR writers, right? You've got to add capacity back. But are there people within your auction today that you could train to become CR writers? So maybe I don't need 4 CR writers all the time, but there's a period of maybe 2 hours during the week because you're looking at your daily, hourly volume that's entering in, and you know that there's a point that hits where I've got to level up and I've got to increase my capacity to be able to knock out more CRs quicker. So who are the people that I could pull and flex into that job? And that's where the cross utilization of your team members. One of the worked with a company at one point that I thought did it beautifully, where they set up where they had a couple different tracks. They had like a mechanical track within their facility, and they had like a cosmetic track. And within these tracks that they had, every person that came in, it didn't matter. Like the most skilled position in the operation was like a painter, right? Like to paint a car is like a high skilled position. But even if that painter came in and it has 30 years of experience, they would start the person washing cars, right? And it might only take them 30 minutes to wash a car, and they would skill out of that position, and they would move to the next position, position 2, position 3, position 4, and they would skill out of every one of these positions. And what they found was that as they would skill out and they would move to higher positions, obviously you would make more money. You would get higher pay because you're moving into more skilled functions. But there may come a point where your wash guy is sick or he's out, or we need more people washing cars. I can always take the painter and drop that person back into washing cars. It's not the most optimal thing, right, on a price per car, but based on the volume it's hitting, now I've got the level loading of my people that I know that there's a primary job everybody has, but if I need to fill in peak points, I've got the level loading of the resources that I need to fill in, right? And so that's kind of the concept. Not every auction is set up in that way, right? But I think that's something to think towards as a way to get to a point like that. But you could start with something very simple and start setting like type jobs. Like there's a lot of mechanics that when you think about the mechanical inspection that they're doing, they're checking for frame, which means that they know what prior repair is. They in a sense, they know what a CR is. You could take a CR writer, a mechanic, and move them to do CRs. But you could probably take some CR writers and teach them how to do mechanical things, right? There's a lot of crossover, right, within the auction business. And that's where historically, I think auctions have been set up in these like silos that I hire 3 CR writers and that's all they ever do. And they can't do anything else, right? And by doing that, then what you have to hire to is the peak point of the flow of what's hitting. And in a lot of ways, that's what throws everybody behind. But as you start operating as a team and you can start level loading employees, that's the next level. So,
and then you get the call from the investors or the owner of the auction or the bosses or whoever it is says, your headcount's a little high right now. And doing your model helps solve that problem. And I'm even starting to consider now, what does my new job description look like going forward when I need to hire? So let's say, like you said, we're growing, we're going to need more CR writers at some point in time.
Yep.
My vision is when a car comes in, Ty, if you're the guy in the arena, you own it from start to finish. You check it in, you CR it, you test drive it, you do everything, and you push it to the next one. Okay, push it down to where it's ready to go for sale. Okay, I need 3 or 4 of you. Maybe it's 5 of you. Okay, I don't need just a check-in person anymore. I don't need just a diagnostic mechanic anymore. You're that guy. You're going to do all those spots. You own that car from start to end. So now if I got 4 or 5 of those, I can plug that in and you can keep going. And then we can help each other out. And there's no more, think about what you had mentioned to me. It's like somebody starts a car and they have to jump it. And then it sits there and check in. And then they move it over to CR, then it sits. And then the check-in guy or the CR guy's got to jump it. How many times do we jump start that car? Yeah. If you own the car start to finish and that's your baby, all those problems go away. Right. And if everybody can do all those jobs, what happens if I have, let's say I have 5 of you and one calls in sick? Well, now I'm down to 80% capacity, right? But I'm not crippled. So what happens if I have 3 CR writers and one calls in sick? Now I'm down to 66% capacity. Now I got a huge bottleneck.
Yeah.
Because I have to have 2 check-in people and 3 CR writers. So there's my 5 people. Well, I'm just going to blend you all into one job.
Yeah.
And if you can't write a CR, maybe this is the future. If you can't write a CR, if you can't diagnose a car, maybe you're not the right person for my job. Maybe I start eliminating that. And like people are going to be like, what? You're going to eliminate the check-in position? Possibly. Why not?
Yep. Well, I think it also it's thinking about it not based on why did we even set up the role of like a CR writer or a role of a check-in person, right? Like it's just historically people have just designed these roles, right? But you're almost thinking about it as based on skills, right? Like there's certain skill sets that you need. Like I need a person that can take mileage off the odometer and put it correctly in the right sequence into an application that's not fat fingered or incorrect, which could create odometer issues, right? Title issues or whatever, right? Like that's a skill, right? Not every, some people can mess up on that, right? Something as basic as that. Someone that can look at a vehicle and say, hey, there's been prior repair on that car, right? Or can determine damage that's a skill set, right? They can look and determine dents on a vehicle, right? There's a skill set when you're on a test track and you can feel a judder, right, in the transmission. That's a skill set. It takes time to learn and be trained in how to do that. So that's the type of things you start thinking about. What are the skill sets to train, and what are the skills that like skill A builds to skill B, which builds to skill C. And as people start thinking that way and they start building their skill sets, it's almost sort of like a fighter pilot, right? A fighter pilot, when they show up, they've got to put in X amount of hours of training to get their license or be able to go on their first mission. So then it's like, as people are thinking, they're not just showing up to get a paycheck, right? They're showing up to build their hours to become like a fighter pilot, to become that next skilled position, right? That you're generating, that you're creating. And so it creates, I think it changes the entire mindset of how people, like the individual, right? Of how they show up, and then how you can leverage them, obviously, is like as a leader of the business, ton more flexibility.
So let me interject real quick on changing mindsets. This process for doing I can see the ripple effect throughout the entire organization. Yesterday, sale, right in the middle of the sale, it rained harder than I've ever seen it rain without it being a hurricane. In a hurricane sale. So it comes down like you would not believe. All the doors are open. Water is coming in the arena like you would not believe. We got a barbecue cook-off going. We got a barbecue contest. It's a disaster. Running all 4 lanes. Lane 4 is the second to last one to finish. And as soon as that's over, in about another 45 minutes, we're going to start the heavy duty truck sale, runs through lane 4. Our maintenance guy goes and grabs the Zamboni, cleans the floor, takes all the water off, and makes it look brand new before the heavy duty truck sale. It gets better. Run the heavy duty truck sale. It just rained. These trucks are running through. Vehicles are leaving black, the water tread marks all over the thing. But we need lane 4 when the sale's over because that's our photo booth. What does our maintenance guy do as soon as the truck sale's over? He went over, grabbed the Zamboni, and cleaned it so we'd have a clean floor to take clean pictures because he understood the assignment that I was talking last week, that we want clean photos. Clean photos sell more cars. It's almost like the JFK story when he goes to NASA and asks the janitor what he's doing. The janitor says, and the janitor's obviously cleaning the floor. He says, I'm helping put a man on the moon. And he said, and JFK says, well, tell me more. And he goes, well, if I don't keep the bathrooms clean, if I don't keep, the floors dry, what if one of the engineers slips and falls and we can't put a man on the moon? I'm here to put a man on the moon. Our maintenance guy was there to sell more cars.
That's create the most trusted experience, right?
That's what we're working on.
That's amazing.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Meet Me at the Gate. I hope the conversation has helped to fuel your drive and equip you with insights to steer your team towards success. Remember, the road to success is always under construction. And until next time, keep your engines revving and your gas tanks full.